Sprint and T-Mobile were still selling users' location data to third parties who were then actually peddling the details of this.
You are the product. You are the
Welcome to a reality where your personal space is no longer personal. It turns out that major US mobile carriers, yes, the ones you trust to connect your calls and manage your data, are also trading in something far more valuable: your privacy. Imagine that someone you've never met has access to your exact location, not because they're a government agency with a warrant, but because they paid a few $100 to a bounty hunter. This isn't a plot for a spy movie, it's happening in the United States. Let's dive into the shadowy details of how T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T have turned your privacy into a commodity, resulting in a fine by the FCC of over $200 million. Unmasking the data dealers. These giants didn't just play fast and loose with your location data, they sold it for profit. Despite the enormity of the issue, the penalties imposed by the FCC might make you pause. While the figures sound large at face value, they barely scratch the surface of these companies' revenues. T-Mobile was fined the most at $80 million, with Sprint, now part of T-Mobile, fined $12 million. AT&T was not far behind, penalised over $57 million, and Verizon got a $47 million fine. But let's put this into perspective. These fines represent a mere fraction of their earnings, with Verizon's fine amounting to only 0.04% of its 2023 revenue.
The FCC can't do anything except wrap our knuckles.
This is not even a slap on the wrist. It's like getting a $2 parking ticket. The message this sends is unsettling. It's financially feasible for these corporations to risk legal penalties because the fines are dwarfed by the profits from illegally sold data. The bounty hunter experiment. In a startling revelation from a Vice investigation, it was demonstrated how disturbingly easy it is for private location data to be accessed and misused. Armed with a phone number and only $300, a bounty hunter engaged service designed for private individuals and businesses. The mechanism? A real-time location data market fueled by our trusted telcos and navigated through a network of data aggregators and resellers. This wasn't a high-tech operation. It was more like ordering a pizza. The bounty hunter handed over some cash, got access to a service, and soon after a screenshot from Google Maps popped up, showing a blue circle around a neighbourhood in Queens, New York, right where the target was located. The ease and casual nature of this transaction highlight a disturbing fact. Our carriers are selling our whereabouts to anyone willing to pay. From data brokers to the guy down the street, our locations are being traded like Pokemon cards in the playground. The Vice investigation exposed the unsettling truth about our mobile carriers and their role in this privacy invasion. They've turned our phones into live tracking devices available to the highest bidder, putting all of us in the potential crosshairs of people we may never see coming. Consent not included. It seems that many major companies fundamentally misunderstand or blatantly ignore the concept of consent. The trend of disregarding user consent is not limited to obscure corners of corporate operations. It's front and centre, showcased as innovation. Our mobile carriers have treated user consent as an optional rather than mandatory part of their operations. They've done more than overlook consent, they've bypassed it entirely, turning personal data into a commodity. These practices extend beyond telecoms. Take Chase Bank, for example, which proudly presents a new feature that allows advertisers to target customers based on their spending habits without obtaining their prior approval, or car manufacturers, who also delve into deeply personal data without clear permission from users. For more on this, check out our detailed video on car manufacturers' data practices. The audacity of these actions is not just in their execution, but in their public acceptance. Companies like Chase are not hiding their tactics. They are openly integrating them into their business models, often under the guise of improving customer experience. This normalization of invasive practices paints a grim picture of what consent has come to mean in the marketplace, a hurdle to be bypassed rather than a right to be respected. It's crucial to question and confront the corporate ethos that treats personal information as a mere data point in profit calculations.
Was all this legal? Absolutely not.
The ongoing disregard for consent undermines our privacy and highlights the urgent need for tighter regulatory oversight. This isn't just about privacy, it's about maintaining our autonomy in a world increasingly driven by data exploitation. A cycle of deception. Public outrage has surged as revelations have surfaced about major carriers and corporations routinely selling consumer data without their consent. Despite this fury, the corporate response often feels like a well-rehearsed play.
This is not okay.
We know it's not okay, Kendall. We're preparing a corporate response.
Apologies are issued, promises for change are made, yet these pledges frequently fall flat, proving to be little more than temporary placations until the spotlight fades. In response to scandals, companies like T-Mobile, AT&T and Sprint assert their commitment to safeguarding user data and halting dubious practices. However, the cycle of assurances followed by a return to questionable practices suggests a troubling trend. The fines levied against these giants, while seemingly substantial, are but a minor inconvenience when measured against their vast revenues. This penalty hardly discourages future transgressions, but rather may embolden these corporations by signalling that the financial repercussions of violating privacy norms are manageable within their colossal profit margins. Take T-Mobile's CEO, who, under significant public pressure, vowed to cease the sale of customer location data to shady middlemen. Yet continuous reports of data misuse suggest that the underlying systemic issues remain unaddressed. This pattern of performative contrition followed by continued exploitation underscores a critical problem. The absence of real consequences allows these behaviours to persist. As these cycles of deception continue, it becomes increasingly apparent that corporate goodwill is insufficient for real change. The need for robust, enforceable regulations that hold these entities accountable is more urgent than ever. Only through meaningful penalties and strict oversight can we hope to curtail the exploitation of private data and restore trust between consumers and those who handle their sensitive information. Take action. What can you do? Start by staying informed. Understand the privacy policies of the services you use and hold them accountable by demanding clear consent practices and transparency in how your data is used and shared. Support legislation that protects consumer data privacy and backs up those protections with tough penalties for violations. But your voice is the most powerful tool you have. Engage in the conversation, share your thoughts and experiences. Drop a comment below sharing how you feel about these privacy issues. Your engagement is crucial as we push for a future where our digital lives are no longer for sale. Remember, every comment, every share, and every discussion adds to the pressure on corporations and regulators to uphold the highest standards of data privacy. Together, let's demand better and make sure our voices are heard.